So I welcome you, sir, and hand over the stage to the sir, so that we can get some knowledge from her. Okay, sir, please, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Uh, Good afternoon to all of you. Today we have entered the third week of our online faculty development program on disruptive technologies in engineering and research. And I have taken this opportunity because some of our resource persons have refused to come up because they are having some situations at their homes uh, owing to this COVID-19 pandemic, and some of them are not well. So, by this platform, I also wish them speedy recovery and good health. Uh, so, it is a great privilege and to present before you my topic for today, keeping in mind the theme of the work of this online faculty development program. So, my topic for today is related to wireless sensor networks, wireless body area networks to be more precise, and how it can be used as and how it is a disruptive technology, and it has emerged over in so many years since research has been going on in this field. So let me just quickly present my screen before you. Is my screen visible to all of you? Can anybody say yes or no? Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So today's topic is forensic readiness and wireless body area networks for pervasive healthcare. So I have taken this topic. It revolves around wireless sensor network and especially body area networks. In my previous lecture, when I was taking up this lecture, uh, I have already talked about this in one of the slides, and body area networks or body sensor networks are the emerging field, and they are proving themselves to be a very disruptive technology. Since the this is the area that we are required to work upon, as you may be knowing. Just a moment. Some participant. Just a moment. Yeah. So some participants have been trying to log into the session. So yeah. So coming back to the topic, pervasive healthcare. What pervasive healthcare means is that we are trying to give healthcare to those who are on the streets anywhere, anytime. They are moving, running, maybe doing some activity at their office, at their workplaces, and they need some kind of healthcare immediately. So these body area networks or the body sensors are very useful in providing healthcare by identifying the problem. They are actually going to predict the problems by using machine learning algorithms, as I have discussed in my very first lecture. And they are also going to be a disruptive technology in the sense that your appointments, your even trends of various physiological parameters going through your body, whatever changes that are going to occur, these changes will be recorded, monitored, and then a prediction based on those readings will be transmitted to a database. This database will be connected to your health service providers. Just like we have internet providers, in the future we'll be having health service providers. And even in not in future, it is currently in, you can say it is in working, because many organizations, many hospitals in fact have started this as a technology. They have adopted this. Some of them are monitoring your continuous SpO2 levels and your ECG, EEG, and they are predicting your future medication in case your health is deteriorating. Okay. So coming to the flow of presentation, the flow of presentation will be as follows. Introduction to BAN, first of all, body area networks. Then what is BAN? History and development, BAN architecture, taxonomy and requirements, positioning of WBAN, patient monitoring through BAN, applications. Then coming to the forensic readiness network architecture, challenges, future scope, and conclusion. Okay. So let us come to the introduction. Increasing population and the rising costs of healthcare have triggered the introduction of novel technology-driven enhancements to current healthcare practices. So, in a nutshell, we can say that these devices are going to impact or going to revamp our healthcare practices. Okay, we are incorporating more and more biomedical sensors that can be worn on the body or implanted in the human body, that is going to continuously scan our body, take the physiological readings and transmit it to a database where machine learning algorithms and deep learning algorithms will be there that can detect our future medication, our healthcare issues, and immediately it can redirect to a healthcare provider where they can take necessary actions for the user, okay, or for the patient. So this is a very brief introduction about these. Then coming to the WBAN. WBAN is basically wireless body area network. And according to the definition by IEEE, it is a communication standard optimized for low power devices for their operation on, in, or around the human body, but not limited to humans, to serve a variety of applications including medical, consumer electronics, or personal entertainment and others. So it, it provides a broad range of possible devices, connect everything you carry on you and with you, and offer connected user experience. So in the previous lecture, in the first lecture, I was talking about Internet of Things. So this wireless body area network is Internet of Things only. We were talking about sensors that can be incorporated on a smartwatch that can continuously monitor your position, your position based on the gyroscope and the this sensor, accelerometer sensors are there, gyroscope sensor are there, and other sensors, and also the sensors that are able to capture your physiological parameters like ECG sensor, like heart rate monitor, SpO2 levels. So all these sensors are being incorporated in a single device, and this single device can be connected to a app, mobile app, that can be connected to your service provider, health service provider. Okay. Then coming to wireless body area network, it allows the integration of intelligent, miniaturized, low power sensor nodes in, on, or around the human body to monitor body function. So what is body area network? Basically, these are tiny sensors, small battery powered, low power devices that take very low power, and they are able to sense your body physiological parameters. Okay. W-band is a network around the human body. So it can be worn, it can be any type of sensor that can be worn on your body. Okay, and it can measure physical parameters. It senses biological, physical, chemical changes of our body and alarms the person who wears it. It helps in auto medication in case of emergency. So sometimes these sensors they are implanted in a human body, and in case of emergency it also carries a medicine. If suppose a person is getting a heart attack, immediately that sensor will release one of its medicines that can directly go into the bloodstream, and the person can be saved from a massive heart attack. Okay, so this is the future of wireless body area networks, and they can be used to provide best suitable healthcare. It sends the information throughout the world through internet. So internet is major part of it. It can see internet of things. When I was talking about internet of things, it means all devices are connected via the internet. So we'll come back to it later. So when was this first developed? When was the first time body area network was used? It was Professor Guangzhou Yang. He was the first person to formally define the phrase body sensor networks (BSN) with publication of his book Body Sensor Networks in 2006. So we can say that in 2006, this gentleman has first coined the term body sensor network, and some of the common use cases for band technology, as discussed in his book, were body sensor networks, sports and fitness monitoring, wireless audio, mobile device integration, personal video devices. So, this is the band architecture. It consists of a sensors that can be worn. Then there is a actuator that can deliver medication and transmit electric signals. Okay, some person may be on this thing, it's called a pacemaker. Some person, if he's on a pacemaker and if its heart rate is going low, then what is the job of a pacemaker? It gives a push or electric signal so that the heart can revive back to its original pumping state. So that can also be done through this body area networks. Okay, and this is a PDA. PDA means personal digital assistant, just like a mobile phone here. MBU. This is required for processing and transmitting of data. So three major components are there in a BAN architecture, wherein the first one is the sensor, the second one is the actuator, and the third one is the medium through which these two devices can communicate. That is a PDA, personal digital assistant or something, or mobile base station unit, MBU. Okay. Then characteristics of a W band. So you can see here there is a body here where all kinds of sensors are being deployed on this. Insulin pump is there, glucose sensor is there, body temperature sensor, blood pressure sensors. So these are sensors and actuators with low power transmission, and this is connected through a gateway, that is to other services or a platform or a mobile device where you can actually monitor what has happened in your body. So if suppose my glucose level are rising, okay, so what happens, there is an insulin pump that can quickly inject insulin in my body, and it will activate my pancreas to release some more insulin, and so that the body glucose can be controlled. Okay, so this in such a way we can say that any wireless body area network must be open, accurate, and efficient. These three properties must be there. It should be open, accurate, and efficient. Here we are seeing an example where a person is seen running, and all these sensors are attached to his body, where EMG, electromyogram, BP, blood pressure monitor, ECG, electrocardiogram, EEG, encephalogram. This electrical signals are there, and then motion sensors are there, thermometer is there, and this is connected through a mobile unit. Okay, this mobile unit can be connected through a base station via the GPRS, or the current trend is there, the 4G and the 5G networks can be used uh, for the connection purposes, and this further can be used in the satellite communication to channel or to broadcast this emergency or need of emergency through internet to various medical information databases and your general physician, and in case of emergency it can also contact to the service providers where they can provide you with an ambulance. Okay, and all this can also be connected through a home computer where persons or your relatives can monitor your health while you are on your exercising regime. Okay, so pervasive healthcare architecture, we are seeing here an architecture. It was also published in one of the magazines of IEEE, where we can see there is a hand which is having a watch here, and there is a sensor attached to one of its fingers where it is continuously monitoring the heart rate. This heart rate is being captured in a mobile device, and through an IIoT, industrial IoT based cloud network, where it can store this data. This is a database where it can be stored, and from there it can be transmitted to either your home computer or to your physician or to any emergency services. So any when there is a need of emergency, in the need of a healthcare situation, this pervasive healthcare architecture is very suitable, found to be very suitable and best practice right now, because people around us are getting affected by COVID day by day, and this if this had been a case of like in the Indian scenario, if we talk about, then this would have been a very best technology. In fact, everybody could have monitored, and timely they could have visited their hospitals and their physicians for uh, getting a guided healthcare service. Okay, so but in India we are seeing there's a lack of this technology, and people are very late while going to the doctors and while seeking healthcare services, and they have really lost their lives because of which. And some we can say there is some negligence at the hospitals end also, but most of the time it is the health, the consumer himself that is responsible for his health, deteriorating health, because he may not have been noticing, or he may not have realized that his health is deteriorating. In the meanwhile, when the conditions become worse, they are bound to go to the hospitals at a very late moment, and they are losing their lives. So this is also part of this. Okay. So positioning in WBAN, how can we check for the positioning? So there is two types of communication that takes place there. One is the intra-body communication and the extra-body communication. So intra-body communication, where in these sensors that are deployed in a particular person, they are contacting amongst themselves. So this is called intra-body communication. And when two or more bodies, two or more such device persons in a network are communicating, then that is called an extra body communication. Okay. So patient monitoring through W bands. A W band allows continuous monitoring of the physiological parameters. So we can see here that there is a body aggregator which is able to sense all the sensors. See, there is we have also incorporated a artificial pancreas. This person may be affected with diabetes or diabetes mellitus stage 2, because he's having an artificial pancreas, and in that case sometimes the medication fails, and there is a need of an artificial pancreas that is incorporated. Basically, artificial pancreas is nothing but a injectable insulin package, where injections of insulin can be incorporated when the body glucose levels rises above a certain threshold. Okay, So this is one part where artificial pancreas can be used. Blood pressure sensor node, pulse oximeter sensor node, EMG sensor node, inertial sensor node. So all these sensors are aggregated through a body area aggregator. Okay, so this is a you can say if we talk about Zigbee networks, we have a PAN coordinator. So this is just like a PAN coordinator, which is taking up all the sensors data and processing it and giving you a required this thing feedback to you. And even if there is an in the need of an emergency, it is also providing you with the best healthcare possible. Okay, this can be connected to a network, then the healthcare server is there, and the healthcare giver or physician is connected to this network, and the emergency services or medical researcher. So you can see that patient monitoring through W bands is a really possible, and it is the need of the hour for currently the situation we are living in. So talking about the history, if we talk about this diagram or this band technology emergence or the wireless space, this diagram was this is part of my thesis also. I have mentioned my thesis article number and this citation. Basically, this is where we are seeing that there are three types of networks, wireless networks, which works on low powers. Okay, so these are WLAN. These are high power devices, 1000 milliwatt. Then wireless PAN networks. This is IEEE Bluetooth and some part of the Wi-Fi that is connected to your laptops and all. Then Zigbee 802.15.4. Then Thread, Wireless HART, and ISA 100.11a. All these wireless technologies, they come under the wireless PAN or personal area network standards, the wireless PAN. And then if we talk about IEEE 802.15.6 and IEEE 802.15.6 emergency, these two are different technologies. These are the wireless body area network platforms or the technologies that we can use in such cases, and these are really low power devices. So if you see the data rate, that data rate is also less. It is around 1 kbps to say 100 kbps maximum. And if we talk about this IEEE 802.15.6 emergency standard, so this emergency standard is only up to 1 kbps. So 1 kbps of data transmission rate is there, and the power consumption is also very less, nearly 0.1 milliwatt to 1 milliwatt. So you can imagine how tiny these sensors are and uh, how we can use these you can use these sensors uh, and we can use this technology in this platform. So this is how it has evolved so far in these so many years or decades, we can say. At least 2 decades, we can say that the wireless technologies have been continuously evolving, and research has been going on till now to even further reduce the power consumption to such low extent that these nodes can survive in a body or in a situation for many years. So longevity, or the longevity we say sometimes, that should be increased, or more the longevity is there, more the wireless device will be active, and it will be continuously sensing and monitoring the health. Okay, so band draft specifications. These are the draft specifications that has been given in by the IEEE standard. So the distance that it can cover is from 2 meters to standard, and 5 meters special. So if there is a standard body sensor node, then the distance is 2 meters, and if there is a special kind of sensor node has been deployed, then it can go to a distance of maximum 5 meters. So 5 meters connectivity is possible. Network density is 2 to 4 nets per meter square. Network size is 100 devices per network. Net network throughput is 100 megabit per second. This is the maximum throughput. Then maximum power consumption is nearly 1 milliwatt per Mbps. So for 1 MB per second, the consumption is only 1 milliwatt. So imagine how fast these devices are and how low power consumption consuming devices these are. So startup time is less than 100 microseconds or 10% of the transmission slot. Latency is nearly 10 milliseconds. That is almost negligible. Network setup time is less than 1 second. So you can imagine how fast these devices are, and they are proving to be the best technology so far. Now coming to another revolutionary product by Abbott that has been recently formed. This is the Abbott's revolutionary idea of Freestyle Libre flash glucose meter. So this glucose meter is there. It consists of two parts. This one is the reader. Here, this one is the reader, and this one is the sensor. This circular disc is the sensor. It has a very small pin, sorry, not a pin, but a needle. It has a needle at the back of the side, back of this design, and it can be used to. You can put it under your arm, behind your forearm. It can be incorporated. It can be injected like a chip, and it will remain for 14 days. It is expected to work for 14 days or 2 weeks, to be precise. So the reader is a one-time purchase. So you can purchase this device. The product cost of this is around 11,000, 12,000, depending on various e-commerce websites. On Flipkart, it is around 15,000. And if you have multiple sensors, then it is costing around 20,000. It is having 5 such sensors, which can be used for say 10 weeks, 2 weeks for one sensor. Okay, so so it can be used for a range of 10 weeks. So this monitoring device is a one-time purchase, but this sensor can be purchased after 2 weeks, or it stops working automatically after 2 weeks. Once you have injected it the first time, you will configure it with this device. Then it is available for next 14 days. After the 14 days have expired, this sensor automatically expires. Okay, so the last fed data into this will be captured within 14 days. Okay, so not after that. It stops functioning after 14 days. So when it stops functioning, that means you have to buy another sensor, or you have to put another sensor in your body. Okay, and it is also water resistant up to a range of 3 feet. Okay, 1 meter or so. So the reader is a one-time purchase and can be used for life. It is a 3-in-1 device. It can continuously monitor your glucose, blood glucose tester, and blood ketone tester. Each scan of the reader shows the current glucose reading, the last 8 hours of data, and a trend arrow indicating if glucose is going up, down, or staying steady. The reader stores 90 days of glucose data, so you can see a complete picture of your glucose levels over 3 months. Get glucose readings with a painless 1-second scan. So only the first time you insert this chip on your body, it is only going to pain you once. But after that, for 14 days, you are free. You just have to bring your this reader in front of this sensor, and will capture your physiological parameters like the glucose levels and all. So, and it is capable of giving you data of 3 months. Up to 3 months data can be stored on this reader, and it will give you a trend, whether you in the past 3 months, how was your sugar levels, and were you able to manage your glucose well or not. So that all trends it gives. You can see this graph here. This graph is there, where you can see that this data is being there's a trend. See, at 10 p.m. it is 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. between 6 and maybe 8 p.m. it is rising here above a threshold, and it is showing a risky sign. Okay, so that is the reason here. So it shows a graph of or the trends that for the past 8 hours. Okay, that is the main advantage of this. The freestyle Libre reader can capture data from within 1 centimeter to 4 centimeter of the sensor, even through the clothing. So it can sense if you are wearing something, it can sense through your clothes also. Using the supplied disposable applicator, the freestyle Libre sensor can be easily applied and stays on the back of your upper arm for up to 14 days. This we have taken up. The sensor automatically measures and continuously stores glucose readings day and night. The freestyle Libre system is designed to be water resistant and can be worn while bathing, showering, swimming, and exercising. The sensor is water resistant up to 1 meter, so 3 feet it is water resistant. So one of the users of this device have tried to look into the internal structure of the sensor, and he has dismantled it. So what he saw is what I'm sharing with you. So the design is very minimal. There is a battery. So here is this button style battery, just like a CMOS battery. This is a small battery here, and one chip is there. This chip is there, and there is one sensor. This is the sensor that was attached to this point. Okay, with the needle in the middle. So this hole was created purposefully for that, for the needle to appear that is going inside your body. Okay, and an antenna. So for transmitting data to the reader device. So there is an antenna inside. So very simple design. There is a printed circuit antenna on the PCB, which is probably used for the NFC communication. So near field communication, it is endorsing NFC communication system, near field communication. And the chip incorporated here was labeled RF430 FRL152H. And when I googled it, I saw that it is an active NFC sensor transponder with a 14-bit sigma delta analog to digital converter. So this is a near field communication sensor transponder also, and it is interfaced with a 14-bit sigma delta analog to digital converter. So this is the design. The sensor itself is where the magic happens. It is located in a white housing with rubber contacts that connects it to the PCB. So this rubber contacts you can see here, this is the part of the sensing device and it is incorporated in the design. So this is one of the disruptive technologies that emerged in the healthcare industry. This is one example I've taken. There are several other examples that can be taken into account, but I have just explained one for this session. Then coming to the applications of body area networks. So body area networks can offer 3 types of different applications. One is the healthcare that we have seen. Then the other one is the assisted living. This is for the elderly people or the people who are disabled with some disability. And for the third application, it can be used for the purpose of entertainment and sports. So let us take up these one by one. So for the healthcare industry, I have taken up this example. Current healthcare applications of wireless sensor networks target heart problems, cancer, asthma, glucose level monitoring, sensor, stress monitoring, etc. Okay, glucose level monitoring, stress monitoring. Smart biosensors will open up new opportunities for continuous monitoring of patients. So you can see here we are once your body temperature rises and your body is in a stress, when you are coughing, so there is an alarm that can be raised that you might be infected with the COVID-19 virus. Okay, so I have taken this example of COVID-19. and this coronavirus symptoms are there. So body temperature, cough, and headache that you will mention sometimes. And also the SpO2 sensor. The SpO2 sensor, if it goes below 94%, then it is an alarming situation that your body may or may not have been infected with the coronavirus, and now it's time for the healthcare service providers to come into action and take care of your first thing is the your testing should be done. Okay, for that they will send their representatives to your home place. So this is where we are seeing that the health service provider is coming to the home of the person being infected, and then these services can provide you with ambulance, air ambulance, immediate medication, ICU treatment. Even if some medications are to be transported to your home through drones, it can also do that. And it can also provide you with some expert advices from physicians well known in their network. And in the hospital environment, it can provide you with the emergency situations where you can have bed related information, how many beds are available, how many oxygen cylinders are available, and any scanning or any kind of uh, monitoring is to be done, or any kind of diagnosis is to be done. That all they are going to provide you through a healthcare service provider. So this is one example where these body area networks are most helpful and most useful for providing suitable healthcare to general public, and this is going to be a very disruptive technology in the future. Okay, then coming to assisted living, it means to provide healthcare services for the elderly at the comfort of their homes. This helps in improving the quality of life. Assisted living technologies enables elderly and disabled people to be monitored at their individual homes. So you can see here that this is some elderly people here, and body sensors are sensing their parameters inside their homes. So they are inside their homes, and when they require some health care, then this wireless routing can be initiated through a sync to a wireless base station via the internet, and it connect to the base station, sorry, database, just a moment, database, where the physicians are there to carry out, or your general physician, the physician whom you have been consulting, your consulting doctor will give you medications based on your previous reports and your current scenario. So this will lower the healthcare costs. With these devices and technologies, the condition of the health of the people can be estimated appropriately. Then in the entertainment and sports, how body sensor networks can be deployed for playing games and give the user a lifelike experience through augmented reality and virtual reality, AR and VR. It can be used to shuffle songs on a device according to the mood of the user. So say if your mood is not good, your stress level defines your mood. So if you are in stress, that means you need to listen some kind of soft music. And if you are fresh, you are energetic, you are not having any stress, then you can have some pop music and all. So based on the moods and the stress level of a person, these body sensor networks can adjust music for you. Okay. Then smart bands can offer variety of services like on-demand healthcare. So you can see here there is a healthcare person who's wearing a smart watch, and she's monitoring her health on her own. These bands endorse sports mode and can be used by athletes to track their fitness and health simultaneously. So you can see here there is an athlete here who's exercising and continuously monitoring their heart rate and their blood pressure, SpO2 level while exercising. Okay. So these are some applications of body area network. Now, when we come to the forensic readiness system, why we need a forensic readiness system? Because see, this data that we are sharing on a healthcare system or a healthcare provider, our information, this is has to be very discreet. Nobody else should be able to access it. So accessibility of this information should be very discreet. It should be between the hospital or the healthcare provider and the patient only. No third person should be able to access it. So that is why we are needing this forensic readiness system, where we can examine if there is some intruder attack, if there is an attack on this network, because any network that is in the wireless domain is prone to attacks. Okay, so we need to create a secured system so that we can track somebody who has tried to infiltrate in our domain and tried to access our data. We need to track that person or that application. Maybe there are many applications also that are trying to be very falsitive, and they are trying to capture all your data. So these are certain areas, or in fact, we can say that we require a forensic ready system, because we need to track persons and we need to eradicate any kind of future attacks with our data. Okay, so when we need to develop such forensic ready system, we are bound to uh, use these 4 phases, where the first phase is the practical impact assessment. The second one is the additive value function, ADV, AVF. The first one was the PIA, practical impact assessment. Then the third phase is the security impact level, SIL. And the fourth stage, or the fourth phase, is the forensic readiness secure network architecture. So let us see one by one how we how we get to this secured architecture for forensic readiness. Forensic means, what does forensic means? Forensic means capturing your these fingerprints and retina scans or biometric scans, forensics. Okay, but when we come to digital forensics, where we are tracking someone with the intention to attack your data or to steal your data, then digital forensic means the timestamp, the IP addresses. Okay, so you need to understand why forensic word is used, and I've shown this digital thumbprint here. So it can be related here, like this is not real fingerprints or real human retina scans or real human fingerprints, but these are digital fingerprints. Digital fingerprints means the IP addresses, the timestamp of the network access, the information of the attacker, all these are digital forensics. Okay, so you can track a person who has tried to access your data secretively. Okay, so let us come to the phase 1. So first phase says there is practical impact assessment. So eavesdropping, denial of service, authentication bypass, role bypass. So these are few. These are some attacks that are possible in a network where security is required, especially in the case of body area networks. So eavesdropping means some data is being stolen without the person's information. Okay, and it can be used for some other purpose also. Okay, denial of service means that the service is being denied by some application, by some third party application, which is intruding in between, so that you are not able to get the healthcare at the right moment. Okay, and it may allow you to die. So denial of service attacks should also be taken care of. Then authentication bypass, you are being bypassed by some other application and your authentication is overruled. Okay, so we are seeing here there is a time and distance. We can see that at what time and at what distance some intruder has accessed or tried to access your data. Okay, so it has 3 parts to it: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So CIA. So CIA is not to be compromised. So CIA is confidentiality. The purpose of creating a secure network, confidentiality should be maintained, the integrity of the network should be maintained, and the availability of data should be maintained. Okay, so it should not be accessible to someone outside the organization, someone outside the network, and it should be very much secure. Okay, so this is a PIA process in which where we see there is a start, and uh, when this flowchart is starting, it is continuously sensing your location, and after the location has been sensed, it is setting up the hardware and the software. Then if attack execution has taken place, then variables are being measured. If there are no variables, then the start process, then the process is being iterated or started again. Okay, it is in a loop form. And if there is variables are measured, then decision is to be taken whether it should be a PIA data, practical impact assessment data, yes or no. If it is yes, then it should be in the finished state. That means it should provide, it should authenticate that there is a PIA, and it should be like connected to a secured server. That this action should be refused to connect. Okay, if there is a PI data that is saying yes to it, then only. Okay. Then the second phase, called the additive value function, a function to transform all collected qualitative data into quantitative data. So whatever data has been collected, that is always qualitative, and it should be converted into quantitative data. So this formula can be used, it is rather been used by one of the authors from 2014. I've mentioned this paper also. It is from Abdul Fuad Abdul Rahman, Developing Forensic Readiness Secure Network Architecture for Wireless Body Area Networks. I've mentioned this paper as well for you. So according to their architecture, they have calculated this Vx, this is the summation of weight Wm, with the parameters that has been, this is the PIA parameter. Okay, practical impact assessment parameter VMXM. So quantitative data to determine security impact level. So security impact level can be measured with this formula, and this additive value function will calculate the uh, security impact level for the system. So this is also taken data from the same paper. They are assuming that there are 4 different scenarios that we have already taken up in the uh, first phase. Eavesdropping, this is X1, this is X2, denial of service, this is X3, and this is X4. Okay, these are 4 different scenarios that have been taken place, and these 4 PIA X1 to X4 have been calculated and computed. So the maximum recorded distance was 5 meters, and confidentiality was maintained in this integrity, and this availability was not maintained. So these are zeros, and confidentiality is 1. Then PIA X2 eavesdropping के बाद, this is the denial of service attack, and the denial of service attack was taken again the 5-meter distance, at a distance of 5 meters. The time to execute was 123 seconds. So in 123 seconds, they were able to breach the availability of the data. Okay, so now you understand what is the concept of this table here. Then at X3, the another attack that was there, and X4, there were different times in which it was able to execute a particular scenario for non-availability of data. The value of PIA, practical impact assessment XM, that is VMXM, was calculated to be highest in the in the last 2 cases. That was 3 and 3. High impact level. So high impact level was noted, and low impact level was noted in X1 and X2 for eavesdropping and denial of service attack. So based on this data is also collected from the same paper. These authors were able to determine that there is a need of secured system. Okay, and how this they were able to analyze that the minimum distance required for any body area network to reject any kind of attack is 6 meters. So they according to their research, it was the minimum distance required was 6 meters. So in the last phase, at this phase, the system will have forensic readiness capabilities, preventive and detective mechanism. So for traffic monitoring means the devices that are able to. Okay. So I was discussing this architecture, and according to this paper, the minimum distance that is required for the safe accessibility of body area networks is 6 meters. So if we calculate the area, the 6 meter in radius. So if we calculate the area of this entire area surrounded by the body area network, it is pi r square. We generally know this formula. And with this formula, they have calculated the area as 113.14286 meters square. So this radii in a circular direction, the area can be used to save and recommend that a WBAN system installation to have a minimum distance of 6 meters radius from other wireless system and devices. So there is no intrusion possible at this distance. So if any system beyond this distance has been incorporated, then there is less interference and there is less chances of any kind of attack that can take place in such a system. Okay, so summary of for forensic readiness. This was the paper by AFA Rahman and others in 2014 on wireless body area networks. But it has not yet been explored more. So we as researchers, we as individuals working in the same domain or maybe different, we have a very big responsibility to approach these papers and papers like these for creating a structure, creating a healthcare system that needs to be revamped right now. Okay. So let us discuss some of the issues and challenges in WBAN. So security is one issue that we have already taken up. Security is the main challenge for WBAN. Efforts are being made to make data transmissions in WAN more secure and accurate. So security means the data should be authenticated. It should not be camouflaged, and it should not be altered by some intruder in the network. So an individual patient's data should not mix with other patients' data. So it should be accurate. It should be only the data from one user and not mixed with the data of other users. So the data generated in the network should be secure. So there is no unauthorized access to the data. Confidentiality, integrity, and authentication are the main security requirements of WBAN. Then interoperability. The data transfer should be smooth across various technology standards like Bluetooth. Bluetooth is IEEE 802.11. Sorry, IEEE 802.15.1. And this ZigBee is based on the IEEE 802.15.4 wireless standards. The WBAN system should also be scalable such that the network connectivity is not interrupted when the network is widened. So interoperability also means that where there are various devices. We have ZigBee, we have HART, we have ISA, we have Bluetooth, we have RFIDs, and we have devices that will be able to work on terahertz frequencies. So all these devices, even the Wi-Fi, there's a heterogeneous network kind of thing should be there. So all these networks can be able to interlink themselves. Okay, so that is the main agenda of wireless body area networks, because some devices will be working on the ISM 2.4 gigahertz band, the other may be working at ISM 3.4 gigahertz band. So all these different frequencies and devices should be interconnected. Then privacy. People are afraid that their private information may get leaked while using the WBAN network. Therefore, WBAN must be ensured the privacy and security of the individual information. So this is also taken up. System devices. The devices used in the network must have low complexity, lightweight, low power consumption, and energy efficient. So the devices that are part of that are going to be part of this WBAN standard should be low. This complexity should be low as possible. Very small, tiny devices, low power consumption, and energy efficient.
sensor validation. The data collected by these sensors need to be validated. This will help in identifying issues in the hardware and software designs. False readings can cause wrong data being sent to the end user. Then data consistency. The consistency of data should be maintained. In the wireless body area network, the data is fragmented and transferred at various nodes. This can cause inconsistency of data. Therefore, consistency of data should be maintained. With consistency, it is also we also mean that suppose a data has been aggregated. Say suppose body temperature has been taken, and suppose at 4 a.m. in the morning, the body temperature was 98.4. Okay, and at say around this data is saved in a caching node or a cache node that is available, temporary storage that is available on the sensor. Suppose when the data is being fetched at the receiver's end or at the healthcare service provider, suppose this data is being fetched or pull mode. In pull mode, what happens? The data is being fetched. It is not completely transmissible, but it is fetched from the receiver's end. So suppose this data is stored 98.4 and the person is in fever. Okay, and the person at say suppose 10 a.m. in the morning, he is having a fever of say 100°F and so on. So when this data is being fetched, suppose that old data has been provided to the healthcare provider. So at the healthcare side, they are unaware of the situation that the person or the patient is feverish and he requires immediately healthcare attention. So that can be a problem. So data consistency means it should continuously send data every minute, every second, and new fresh data should be updated into the cache memory at every point of time. So data consistency should be maintained. So I hope you have got this point. Interference. For the large scale implementation of W-band system, interference should be less. This will increase the coexistence between the sensor nodes with other devices in the network. Okay, so these are 7 issues and challenges that I have come across while studying about wireless body area networks. So advantages of BAN used for detection of chronic diseases. See, these body area networks can be incorporated with machine learning and deep learning algorithms. So it can also predict future problems that may arise in a person's body. Say suppose some cancerous cell is being developing. So these sensors can even detect those cancerous cells and inform the healthcare provider that this person is prone to cancer, and he may be immediately taken into consideration for starting a healthcare system for it. Then this can be used in military for security purposes also. Assist seamless communication between individual and people. So they can provide seamless connectivity with people and individuals across. Then future scope. The future market of W-band is growing rapidly in the field of medical as well as in the entertainment industry. We believe that wireless band systems will allow a dramatic shift in the way people think about and manage their health. This provides more proactive preventive healthcare. See, this proactive preventive healthcare is the pervasive healthcare we are talking about. Pervasive means, proactive means you are aware before anything is going to happen. You are going to treat that problem well before time. Okay. So any situation that is going to arise, that will be controlled before it is going to happen. Okay. So that is called proactive preventive healthcare. That is going to be a very disruptive technology so far, this medical healthcare. That will not only improve the quality of life, but will also reduce the healthcare costs. So if it will reduce healthcare costs also, because it will not let the situation get worsened. It will not let you go on ventilators. It will not let you go on surgeries, and it will not let you go on like into rehabs. So these problems can be eradicated or removed beforehand. So that is the main issue with wireless bands. Then conclusion, a wireless band is expected to be a very useful technology with potential to offer a wide range of benefits to patients, medical personnel, and society through continuous monitoring and early detection of possible problems. The current technological evolutions will bring us closer to a fully operational wireless body area network that acts as an enabler for improving the quality of life. So this brings us to the end of this presentation of mine. If there is any query.
If any participant has any query. Piyush sir, thanks a lot. Thanks for this. Yeah, hello sir.
Sir, Harun sir. Yes.
Very informative lecture, and thank you very much, Piyush, Dr. Piyush.
Thank you, sir.
And actually, healthcare system, it is monitored by some kind of wireless devices. You are saying majority of wireless sensor network are deployed to monitor the health issues of the patient. So this types of technology is right now are in operation.
Sir, in
majority of
various other countries, I'm not talking about India, but US and Canada, they are using these technologies to monitor healthcare. And many research papers, even researchers from Integral University themselves have written papers regarding this topic in the book Pervasive Healthcare. It is available in Springer, and people from your department has written papers related to those. And but these are very futuristic technologies, sir. This is going. I was taking this session because I want the healthcare system in India to be revamped. Okay, it should be changed. Like, we are facing so many problems in this pandemic. If such systems have been for general use, then many problems may have been removed or eradicated before time. People may not have been so. बहुत ही इस समय सिचुएशन बड़ी खराब चल रही है. You can see people are so helpless. When they are reaching the hospitals, they are on their way to the hospitals. They are dying midway. So these problems could have been somehow, to a certain extent, these problems could have been minimized. So the main purpose of these wireless body area networks is to remove all these healthcare emergency situations. That is it, sir.
Whatever that I understand from the content from you, actually, yes, the concept is something related to the concept of smart city. Majority of thing in a smart city, they are going to integrate through the Internet of Thing network.
Yes,
so
sir.
One of the aspect of pervasive healthcare is also the part of smart city, and Government of India is also taken a lot of initiative, yes, towards healthcare monitoring and other things. So yes, your lecture is so informative, and thank you very much for giving us such wonderful content and concept to us. Thank you very much, Dr. Piyush.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, आप ही लोगों से सीखा है, sir. Thank you. You are yourself so equipped with knowledge. Thank you so much, sir. So with the end of this session, I would request all the participants to fill the feedback. The feedback will be provided on the WhatsApp group, so please wait for the feedback link. Since I was requested to make the feedback form, but I couldn't make it because of some time constraints. So I'll drop a message on the WhatsApp group, and you can fill the feedback form from there. Okay. Yes, sir. Imran sir, you were saying something.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So this critical position, you always handle the condition and come forward. Thanks a lot for this. He is also an organizer and chairman for this FDP. Even then, he is taking so much time. I'm highly thankful to Piyush, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for this nice and informative.
Most welcome, sir.
Hopefully, we will meet tomorrow. And thank you all the participants for patience listening. So tomorrow we will meet at 11 a.m. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.